What is going on? It is Tuesday, January 27th, 2026, and today we are going to talk about a possible nor'easter this weekend and maybe some southern snow. We also have record-breaking temperatures around the country right now, and getting into this weekend, we could see those records expand all the way down to the southeast. Even Florida could see some record-setting temperatures as we push through Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Our temperatures in the plains and out east don't just look cold in the short range. Take a look at the 10-day temperature anomalies from the European. It looks like we're going to stay cold in the short to mid-range. I really appreciate you guys watching this video. If you like this type of content, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. And if you like the video, like the video. Let's get into the weather updates. All right, first, we need to talk about the potential for a nor'easter this weekend. Now, I know you've probably seen stuff online. I don't know if you're like me and you're on the weather side of X, but there are some people saying this is going to be a bust. It's going to be a big nor'easter. Well, there's an argument both ways here. Now, this right here is our latest Euro. Our latest Euro, as we move into this weekend, not much going on right now as we move through the week. We're cold out east. We're a little bit warmer in the west, and we actually have some much needed precipitation moving into the Pacific Northwest. Now, watch what happens through the plains and out east as we get into early Saturday morning. We get a big trough diving down towards the Gulf, and we start to get a low pressure system forming down here in the southeast. This is going to try and drive up the coast. Now, on every single model, we're seeing snow into the Carolinas. I'll tell you that right now. I'm not going to guarantee you're going to see good snow into the Carolinas, but I can tell you we're only about 4 to 5 days out. We're about to be 3 to 4 days out from this thing, and it's a good signal in the Carolinas. The question is, after our low forms in the southeast, is it running offshore, which is a possibility, or do we get that tilt that allows that southwesterly flow and allows it to turn and move up the coast? And if that happens, let me tell you, this is not going to be like our last winter storm. If you just were up there, Baltimore, DC, Philly, New York City, this would be very different. This would be potentially blizzard conditions if we saw this system tilt and move up the coast. I mean, we're seeing some possibilities of a 970, 960 millibar low. Is that going to happen? Again, it's a really, really close call. If this storm rides just off the coast, again, maybe we get Carolina snow. I'm confident we're going to get some Carolina or Georgia snow, but we don't get a big nor'easter. If it takes this route right here in the middle, we could see a big nor'easter, or it could even trend further west and we get rain along the coast. Hopefully, we start to get some better model consensus. I definitely think by Wednesday morning, we may have our answer. That's going to be within the 96-hour time frame. But as you can see here, as we get through Saturday and Sunday, the system drives up the coast. It deepens. We get a 965 millibar low, and then it moves off into the northeast. Again, you move this thing any further to the west, and we saw 4 global models trend west tonight, but we saw a European and European AI trend east. So they're still a little confused, but this trends any farther west, it's a huge nor'easter here. Now, if you look at the Canadian, which did pretty well with our last winter storm this past weekend, it was one of the only models that kept that storm track north the entire time, or at least earlier than the other models. Well, the Canadian sees this thing driving up the coast, 965, 963 millibar low. This would be potentially heavy snow for the I-95 corridor here. So taking a look at the national blend, well, we have some confidence here. Obviously, we are seeing a lot of runs. This takes all our models and blends it together. Not just all our models, but all the members from all our models blends it together. And again, Carolina snow up there through Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, Long Island, and of course up there through New England. So pretty good signals here. Again, I think no matter what happens, we're going to get some snow down here in the southeast, potentially into the Carolinas. The question is, does it then run off the coast, or is it coming up the coast? It's almost like a 50-50 coin toss right now. But NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, has already released some statements on it, and this is what they posted on their X. What we know: continued very cold temperatures will blanket the eastern half of the U.S. into next week. A high altitude disturbance will dive out of Canada Thursday and deepen across the east by Saturday, leading to a strong surface low pressure system. This surface low interacting with the very cold air mass will result in widespread heavy precipitation. What we don't know: the placement, the strength, the timing of the disturbance. You can see the timing, the track, the strength of the low, and the impacts to travel quite yet. They're already expecting the potential, though, for moderate hazards, and you can see the area that's in here, again, potentially as far west as Alabama and then up through Tennessee and Kentucky, but the confidence gets much higher as you get along the coast here, really from almost Atlanta up through Charlotte, and then really up the east coast here again, and then up the I-95 corridor. Here's the latest from the European AI. You can see a good blanket of snow over South and North Carolina, and look how close this system is to just burying the East Coast. This shifts a little bit more over, and then we're talking about Baltimore to Boston. Again, we've seen this tick west, tick east. We saw 4 globals go west. We saw 2 globals go east. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens today with the 12Z. And then as we get into Wednesday morning, as we come to a consensus, I'm still of the belief we're going to get snow down here, Georgia or the Carolinas, regardless of where this thing goes. But this has the potential to have major impacts. If this does end up running up the coast, we're even talking about 70 plus mile per hour gusts potentially into some areas along the coast. So I'll be streaming tonight at around 8:30 p.m. to go over all of this with you guys. It continues to look cold ahead for the east. Here's the 6 to 10 day forecast from the climate Climate Prediction Center, our temperature outlook. 8 to 14 days, 3 to 4 weeks. That cold air is staying out east. We are currently breaking cold daily records from New Mexico all the way up through New Jersey. And as we push throughout the week, we'll continue to see those records broken to portions of the Northeast. Watch what happens as we get into Friday. We're potentially seeing negative temperatures all across the Northeast here, especially through the mid-Atlantic. And this is not feels like temperatures. This is normal temperatures. And then as we get into Saturday, we're seeing all through this region here, the South starts to get involved. And then watch Sunday and Monday, Florida. We are freezing in Florida. These are not feels like, these are actual temperatures. We're talking about 18 degrees into Tallahassee. Look at that as we get into Monday. I mean, the next 7 days is just continuing to be cold for portions of the South and the East. I showed it earlier, but I'll show it again. Here's the 10-day temperature anomaly from the latest European run. And oh my gosh, there it is. We're running 5-10 in some cases, 20 plus degrees below average on average over the next 10 days, according to the Euro. Another important thing to look at here is our 500 millibar height anomaly from the Euro, and this is our 30 days. So this is the European weekly. If this is what we see through February, do not expect too long of a transition out of this cold air out east. I expect some sort of thaw, some sort of warm up in February, just like we had in the beginning of January. And we know what happened at the end of January. The second half of January has been pretty cold out east. But this right here looks cold and potentially still snowy for the east. We've got that high latitude blocking. We've got that negative NAO. We've got a potentially disrupted tropospheric polar vortex, and potentially, as I said in my last video, a stretched or split stratospheric polar vortex somewhere in February, maybe in the beginning of February, maybe the middle, but we're seeing something going on with the stratosphere there. And I'll go over that more in my live tomorrow and in tomorrow's video. We're also seeing this ridge here, and not crazy confidence on it, but this is just not what the West wants. Of course, we've been struggling in the central to southern Rockies, the Southwest, really just the West in general. It's been above average and pretty dry throughout most of this winter. Every time I bring up the teleconnections lately, I feel like I've been saying there's not much to say. Well, guess what? Once again, the Arctic oscillation is just negative through February, at least through the first half of February on the GFS ensemble, European weeklies, GraphCast, European AI, and then you see a negative NAO stretching ahead too. I'm guessing our WPO is going to be pretty negative on these, and there we go. You can see some high latitude blocking, a little bit more neutral than I would have thought. And our PNA, that ridging out west, look at this. It just looks warm out west as we continue moving forward. I think we're going to get a break from this. I think we're going to get a thaw out east and cooler out west, at least somewhere maybe in the second week of February, but it's just a crazy trend ahead for cold air and potentially snowiness out east and this just warm, dry air out west. Not much to report about with the latest MJO forecast, but we're still seeing a phase 8, phase 1, potentially phase 2 as we move forward. Again, another cold signal for the states, especially if you're out east. I know some people probably wanted more information on this potential nor'easter this upcoming weekend, but let me talk about that tonight in my live at 8 p.m. and I'll try to give you my preliminary snowfall forecast Wednesday morning. I want to be within that 96-hour time frame where we really start to get into more of a serious forecast discussion. Again, I really appreciate you guys watching this video. I do try and upload videos every day and live stream every single day. If you want to join an amazing weather Discord where you can look at all the models I look at and I give you all of this information updated every single morning, the link to my Discord is in the description of all my YouTube videos. We have an awesome team in there and there's tons of updated weather information every single day and weather knowledge. Again, I appreciate you watching and I'll see you in the next video or in the live stream.